that is Amazon API Gateway. In this specific documentation, we are going to cover the theoretical part, the theoretical concept of Amazon API Gateway. Amazon API Gateway is a fully managed service which has been managed by AWS that allows the developers to create, maintain, and publish their APIs at any scale of point. Second thing is it enables you to expose your backend services with your AWS Lambda, DynamoDB, which is serverless. So basically, what we are doing here is we are creating our own API, we are designing our own API, we are just connecting it with our backend services, and we are just observing the seamless integration between it. Okay, now let us cover the core concept before proceeding forward with API Gateway in depth. So the first thing would be API. So what actually an API is? It is a set of rules or an instruction that allow the clients. So when I say clients, I'm referring to the web apps and mobile backend service to actually interact with your backend services. Second is API Gateway helps you to define these rules and expose them as an API. Okay. Second is resources. So when I say resources, I'm actually targeting to the endpoint. So you might have observed in the URLs we have www.facebook.com/home/index/name. So when I say this slash followed by anything, I'm referring to those path, right? Okay. So a resource in an API gateway represent the endpoint or the path that clients can interact with. Third is the method. So when I say method, it's the different calls that an API makes. That is get, post, put method, right? Get meaning you are just calling that specific API. Post meaning you are publishing the data, right? So that sort of methods we are referring to when we say methods. Integration. So integration here we are whenever we are referring to integration in terms of API gateway, we are referring to the serverless technologies that is AWS Lambda, DynamoDB, EC2, and external HTTP service. So integration connects your API with the backend services with the serverless technologies. Now, what is staging? So here we are actually referring to the environment. So in stage, basically, I'm referring to different sort of version in your API. For example, you might have a dev API, your test API, and a production API. So that is something that we are referring with the terminology stage. When it comes to deployment, to make the changes in an API available to the users, you deploy the API to the specific stage, right? So for dev, you might have some different sort of set of APIs. For test, you might have different sort of APIs, and for production, you might have a different set of APIs, right? Now let us see what are the key features that API Gateway brings us into the plate. First is the API creation and management. API Gateway helps you to create and manage the REST APIs. It allows you to define how the client will interact with your backend services. Second is it supports serverless technology. So API works seamlessly with the AWS Lambda, allowing you to create serverless APIs. Third is since we are talking about API here, there is one concern related to security and authorization. You can secure your API with various securing mechanism that is through API keys. Second is IAM rules and policies, and third is Lambda authorities. And fourth is custom domain names. You can also give custom domain name to your API, which can be used for the main basic purpose here is like you can be making it for more user interactively and specifically user friendly. And last thing is caching. So basically, you enable response to cache to improve the performance and reduce the load on your backend services. Now, what are the benefits if we consider API gateway? So the first is the scalability. API gateway scales automatically and can handle any numbers of requests. Second is cost effective. You are only paying for the number of API hits that been made and the data transfer that are happening. Third is serverless. Since it is supporting serverless technologies, here you don't need to worry about managing all the infrastructure. Lambda will take care of all the things, and that's the basic thing that this specific architecture provides us. Fourth is monitoring. So there is a built-in integration with CloudWatch for monitoring and logging, right? So last, let us see what are the use cases. The first is building RESTful APIs. So for the website and mobile apps or server application, these are the best option to consider. Second is real-time communication. You can use WebSocket APIs for chat application and for live updates. Third is from like since we are using API gateways, it supports microservice architecture. You can expose multiple microservices behind unified API interfaces, which can work seamlessly and interact with each other. Fourth is API gateway proxy. So basically, when we say proxy, here it is related to connectivity. So you can connect your API gateway to your existing backend services, enabling access without changing your existing code base, right? That was all about the theoretical concept of API Gateway. So here we documented and we learned about API Gateway, what are the key features that API Gateway bring us into our plate. In the next one, we are going to actually demonstrate with the help of AWS Lambda with the serverless technology. We are going to trigger one of the Lambda functions through API Gateway and check what are the uh, get methods, what are the output we are getting through it. Here, in the next one, we are going to integrate API Gateway with Lambda function, and the output we are going to make use of, we are going to validate through Postman, right? That was all, and see you in the next demonstration.